What's up, everybody? It's your man's KJ the Great, dropping another edition of All Sports Media TV. But first things first, I want to say I hope and pray everything is great your way. Now, it's fight week, baby. Oh yeah, it's going down in Las Vegas. The light heavyweight showdown between two undefeated superstars in the sport of boxing. First being David the Monster Benavidez, undefeated, two-time super middleweight champion of the world, looking to make his stamp and his mark on the light heavyweight division, as well as his opponent, Cuban superstar boxer David Morrell. Man, what can I say? Let's talk about this fight. All right, so with this fight, man, I wanted to see this fight at some point, but I think this fight, it just kind of crept up, and it's a little too soon for me, to be perfectly honest. David Benavidez, he's got, 29 wins, no losses, no draws, with 24 wins by way of knockout. David Morrell is 11 wins, no losses, no draw, with I think it's 7 or 8 wins by way of knockout. I can't remember off the top, but that right there in its own is my kind of issue with the fight. Is I feel like, as far as having the pro experience, David Morrell is not necessarily ready. But don't get me wrong, he's from that Cuban school of boxing. Everybody knows it. If you are a boxing fan and you've been around, you know about the Cuban school of boxing. You know how skilled and how technical their fighters are. He's a southpaw. He's big and he has power. David Benavidez, he's big, he's fast, he has power. A lot of what gets his opponents and gets them out of there is not just the size, but it's the speed and the pressure, and he overwhelms his opponent. You look at his last couple fights. He had at his last fight at super middleweight, he fought Demetrius Boo Boo Andrić, and you can see early on the fight, Andrew was quick. He was on his toes, and David Benavidez, he just came on real quick and just overwhelmed his opponent. And that's not to knock David Morrell, because he kind of does the same thing, but a lot of his opponents haven't been some of the upper echelon opponents that David Benavidez has had. You go back and watch his fight with Cena at Becco. It was a quick fight at Becco. He was shredded, in shape, but I think he was just overall too small, probably, or just overwhelmed. I know there was a lot of talk about possible substance abuse and performance enhancers going on, but nonetheless, both these fighters moved up to light heavyweight and both went 12 rounds in their opening, in their debut at light heavyweight. A lot of people were downing both of the fighters because they were both trying to get that fight with Canelo Alvarez, but it didn't happen. And they move up to a bigger class. Bigger guys can take bigger punches. David Benavidez, let it be known that, he had a cut over his eye and his hands were injured going into his last fight. No word on David Morrell. If any such thing happened in his fight, I just know he went 12 rounds. Now, with this fight in particular, I think this fight is going to end in a knockout. There's bad blood. These two guys have a genuine disdain for each other, and you can see it and feel it. But again, it's the experience thing. David Benavidez, he doesn't have a lot of amateur experience. He only had about 15 or 16 amateur fights because he was sparring with world champions from the time he was, a teenager, a young teenager. David Morrell, while he is, while he is 28, 29 years old, somewhere around there, he spent a lot of time in the amateurs. The Cubans, they spent a lot of time in the amateurs. But I just don't see where the pro side of it will benefit him for this fight, because he hasn't fought the upper echelon of fighters. Minus the fact that some of them didn't want to fight him. So, I think the first 4, maybe 5 rounds, this fight is going to be quick pace. Most of the quick pace, I think, is going to be dictated by David Morrell. Light on his feet, moving around, using the ring. David Benavidez, he's come forward. He's going to try to pressure you, bang it out, and then he's going to try to put on that pressure throughout the rounds. And that's where I think the experience and that David Benavidez has, and the size and the pressure, the power and the speed will take over the fight from about, let's say, 5th round on. I personally, like I said, I think this fight is going to end in a knockout. I think David Benavidez is going to win this fight via knockout somewhere around the 10th round. And I say, a lot of people were saying, oh, David Benavidez get him about the 8th round. I'm thinking the 10th round because of the skill set that David Morrell has. He can be defensively sound at sometimes. David Benavidez, he hasn't always shown to be defensively sound, but you watch his last 3 or 4 fights, he has improved dramatically in that department. So that's my prediction. I got David Benavidez by knockout, 10th round. Let's go. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.